Okay, today is the third day of your compensation. This lecture series, it is on compensation management. Now, there are three major components, elements of compensation management. That is pay management. The second one is incentive management, and the third one is welfare management. Now we are in the pay management, and in last week we discussed some part of the pay management process. Today we are going to learn about another very important method of job evaluation. Job evaluation is a major and first step of a pay management process. This is for reminding there are several 5 main steps of the pay management process. The first one is job evaluation. The second one is pay survey. Third one, job pricing and adjustment of individual pays. And the last, monitor and update the pay system. Up to now, we are in pay management. Under the pay management, we are in job evaluation. Now you all are aware about the basic purpose of job evaluation. It is establish pay system with internal equity, internal fairness. That is, internal equity mean pay should be equal, relatively match with the relative worth of each job. That means there are several jobs in an organization, but those jobs are differently contributed to the organization's success. That means there are some differences between relative worth of the jobs. Before you establishing proper pay system, you need to identify the relative worth of each job. For that purpose, we are doing job evaluation. Under the job evaluation, there are 4 main methods. That 4 methods we can categorize under the qualitative methods and quantitative methods. In last week, we discussed the qualitative method. Under the qualitative method, job ranking method and job classification method. Now we are in the quantitative method, that is somewhat analytical, more analytical. As a third method, we are going to discuss about the factor comparison method. Factor comparison method. This is about basic introduction about the factor comparison method. This method is called key job method because under the factor comparison method, basically we are trying to identify key jobs. These key jobs, don't misunderstand, the key jobs are most important jobs for the organization. That is wrong, totally wrong. Key jobs is selected jobs that represent all the range of jobs. There are several jobs, number of jobs within the organization. Under these jobs, sometimes many number of jobs within the organization. If we are considering about large scale organization, there are a number of jobs. It means sometime 1,000 of jobs, sometime more than 1,000 of jobs, sometime minimum 50 number of jobs. But when we are going to identify the relative importance of each job, that is more complicated. That is more complicated. But in here, before comparing all the jobs before identifying the relative worth of every job, each and every jobs. As a first part, we develop the factor comparison chart based on the selected jobs. That selected jobs represent all the range of jobs within the organization. That is called key job. That's why the alternative term for factor comparison method, this factor comparison is basically based on these selected key jobs. That's why the alternative term for factor comparison method is key job method. On the other side, it is a quantitative or analytical method. Quantitative or analytical method. It means now you are already familiar with the qualitative methods. In the qualitative methods, you know, we are using numbers, but that number is not representing the relative worth of jobs. That number is not representing values. That's why we call those methods are qualitative methods. As example, job ranking method. Under the job ranking, there are two techniques. However, we identify the relative worth of the jobs, the relative importance of each jobs. Then we put in order and we rank each and every jobs within the organization. But that rank value, the rank number is not representing. For that ranking purpose, we use numbers. But that numbers not represent the relative importance of jobs. But that number value is not representing the relative importance of jobs. I think it is very clear. As example, rank number 1, as the numeric value, it is less, but the relative worth of the job is highest. That value, that numeric value is not representing the value of the job. I think it is clear. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Qualitative method is also using numbers, but that numbers are not using for the numeric value. As example, job ranking method, we are rank number 1 is the most valuable jobs. But as the number 1, there is a numeric value. When we compare number 1 with the number 2, the most valuable number is number 2. Number 1 value is less than number 2. Therefore, rank number 1, there is a number, that is number 1. That number is not representing, that numeric value is not representing the relative worth of the jobs, because number 1 is used for most valuable jobs, but numeric value of the number 1 is less. But in these methods, qualitative methods or analytical methods, you can differentiate from the qualitative methods. If we are using numbers here, that numbers are representing the relative worth of the jobs. That numeric values are representing the relative worth of the jobs, value of the jobs. That's why we call These methods are qualitative or analytical methods. Third point, evaluate several selected jobs. These several selected jobs called key jobs. Don't misunderstand, these key jobs are not the most important jobs. But these key jobs are covering all the jobs, all the range of the jobs within the organization. Evaluated several selected jobs called key jobs according to the several evaluation factors. In here, we are using key jobs. Firstly, we use several selected jobs. Then we use several selected evaluation factors. Factors mean criteria. We are going to identify the relative worth of the jobs. How you identify this job is relatively highly important. High important. Then the relatively low important. Relatively moderate level importance of this job. How you say like that? Based on several criteria. These factors should be selected. Then evaluate other jobs based on the results of evaluation of key jobs. There are two major steps in these factor comparison methods. Firstly, we are evaluating several selected jobs called key jobs. Then we develop factor comparison chart. Based on the factor comparison chart, we can use other all non-key jobs. Then we can locate these non-key jobs on a factor comparison chart. Under this method, critical job components, evaluation factors which are common to all the jobs under the evaluation are compared. Then, as the final step, we are going to evaluate all the jobs within the organization, not only the key jobs. Then, there are eight steps of factor comparison method. Step 1 is select key jobs. We will discuss one by one. The step 2 is determine job evaluation factors and define clearly. Then the step 3 is evaluation jobs in the order as per the evaluation factors. Step 4 is a portion of on percentage value. Step 5, attribute financial values. Step 6 is allocate financial values among the evaluation factors. We will discuss one by one. The 7th one is place key jobs on a factor comparison chart. Then step 8 is evaluate other jobs. Then the first step, we need to identify the select the key jobs. First, several jobs which are present in all the department of the organization are easily identifiable and well known should be selected as key jobs for the evaluation purpose. In this step, we are identifying key jobs. Don't misunderstand, these key jobs are not highly important jobs, not with the higher value of relative importance. Then jobs should be represent the full range of jobs from the highest to the lowest level. But when we are selecting key jobs, it is very important that should represent full range of the jobs from the highest to lowest level, from the CEO to the security guard. This all range, and each and every department, these all jobs range should be represented in this key jobs. Jobs should have content. That means We are designing jobs by grouping tasks, duties, and responsibilities. Therefore, the content of the job is the duties, which are constant. If we are using key jobs, but that jobs are not constant, these duties are vary, changing time to time. That is very difficult to use as the key jobs. Then among the all the jobs, mechanist, clerk, security guard, driver, and office assistant are considered. When we are using, we are going to evaluate. I try to continue the same example for this factor comparison method. There are several jobs within the organization, but we select as the key jobs machinist, clerk, security guard, driver, and office assistants as the key jobs within the organization. Then, as the second step, we need to determine job evaluation factors and define them. Factors that those are criteria, evaluation criteria. We are going to evaluate jobs based on these criteria. We are going to differentiate the relative worth of the jobs by using these factors. Factors should be decided in order to evaluate relative worth of each jobs. How you say this job is relatively high level of importance, because this job have high level of responsibility. This job need to high level of mental effort to perform these jobs. Some jobs need to high level of physical efforts to complete their duties. Then these factors should be defined soundly. When we identify responsibility as the evaluation factor, we need to define what is responsibility. If we identify mental effort as the factor for evaluation, factor for job evaluation, then we need to identify what do you mean by the mental effort? What do you mean by physical effort? Then these factors can be used for criteria of evaluation. On the other thing is, these evaluation factors need to common and important in a broad range. This factor need to common for the job of security guard. This factor, as example, responsibility. There is a responsibility in a job of security guard. There is a responsibility in a job of CEO. There is a responsibility in an office assistance. Likewise, these factors, these evaluation criteria need to be common for all the jobs in the organization. As example, in our first example, now we are going to select, now we have several key jobs in the organization. Then we are going to define several evaluation factors. Those are responsibility, competence, mental effort, physical efforts, and working conditions. There are 5 evaluation factors we are selected for the evaluation purpose. Then what is responsibility? In here, the responsibility is obligation to perform tasks and duties. We are assigning some tasks, duties, and responsibilities to a particular job. Then the job holder, we expect to perform these tasks, duties, and responsibility, tasks and duties. There is obligation to perform these assigned tasks and duties. That obligation we call responsibility. Likewise, competence means essential knowledge and skills to perform their duties. Some jobs need high level of competence and some jobs need to low level of competence. Based on this competence level, we can differentiate the relative worth of the jobs. Some jobs, each and every jobs need to have mental effort to perform tasks and duties. Mental effort means endeavor needed to do the job by using mental energy. Another evaluation factor is physical effort and then working conditions. But in here, be careful, identify all the common evaluation factors and define these evaluation factors very clearly. Then the third step, evaluation jobs in order as per the evaluation factors. In here, like a simple ranking method, there are jobs and there are factors. Based on each and every factors one by one, we can identify which jobs are most important, the highest value. Then which jobs are low value. Then the first, based on the first factor, that is responsibility, there are 5 jobs we can simply rather.
Excuse me, sir. Your computer audio is also computer microphone also working, sir. Now,
Hello.
so your computer microphone also working now. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, Anuradha.
Both of your microphones are working now, sir. Both in the laptop as well as in the mobile.
Okay, Anuradha. Now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Anuradha. As the first two steps, we in the first step we identify key jobs. As the second step, we identify evaluation factors. Based on the evaluation factors and based on the selected key jobs, then we can identify the relative worth of jobs on key jobs. Then as number one, this is like a simple ranking method. The number one put the highest valuable job and the number 5 put on the lowest valuable job in the organization. As for the responsibility, in our example, as for the responsibility, machinist is the highest valuable job for the organization. Then the second important job is driver. Third important job is security guard. And the fourth important job as for the responsibility is clerk. And the lowest valuable job as for the responsibility is office assistant. The second factor is competence. Based on the competence, machinist, clerk, driver, security guard, the same 5 jobs we are evaluated. Likewise, by using several factors, we can identify and we can rank based on the relative importance of each jobs, but based on the different factors. Then the fourth step is a portion of percentage value. Percentage value should be given according to the importance of factors. There are several factors. As per our example, there are 5 factors like responsibility, competence, mental effort, physical efforts, and working conditions. But when we are considering about one job, the responsibility is differently important, competence is differently important, mental effort is differently important, physical efforts is also differently important for the machinist, clerk, driver, security guard, and office assistant. Working conditions is also different from one job to another. Then we need to identify the weight of these factors. Then following 2 conditions should be met. The amount assigned to each factor should reflect its importance when compared with other factors of the jobs. The relative important job, we need to allocate higher percentage value. Relative less important factor, we need to allocate relatively less percentage. The amount allocated to single factor should be reflect the relative importance of that factor among the different jobs. In here, responsibility, there are 5 jobs. Based on the responsibility, we can when we are considering machinist, there are 5 factors, but these factors are differently important for the machinist. On the other side, there are 5 factors. These 5 factors are differently important for the clerk. These 5 factors are differently important for the driver. These 5 factors are differently important for the security guard. These 5 factors are differently important for the office assistants. Then, based on these 5 factors, we can assign the percentage values. As example, machinist, the responsibility is important 24%. Competence is required, it is important 43%. Mental effort is important for the 18%. Physical effort is important 9%. Working conditions is important 6%. Altogether 100%. 24 plus 43 plus 18 plus 9 plus 6. Then likewise we can differentiate weighted these 5 factors based on each and every jobs one by one. Machinist separately, clerk separately, driver separately. This percentage value should be assigned for the factors. Then attribute financial values. This percentage value, there are up to fourth step, first 4 step. Now we have percentage value for each factors. Then we need to attribute financial values for the each and every jobs. Attributed financial value to the key jobs is the wage or salary being currently paid in the market for that job. That is somewhat important information uh, from the outside of the organization, that is from the labor market. That is, but in here we are evaluating jobs that is within the organization internal. We are going to identify relative importance of internal value of each and every jobs. Then for that purpose, we are using external information in here. There are 5 jobs. We can identify external wages of salaries currently paid in the labor market. Then these financial values need to allocate among the evaluation factors. As a 6th step, the attributed financial value should be allocated among the evaluation factors. Based on the appropriate percentage, financial values, daily wage, need to be allocated among the evaluation factors. As example, there are 5 jobs. There are 5 daily wages for each and every job. Each jobs. Then there are percentage. Now we can allocate this daily wage based on the factors. $1,000 per machinist. Why we pay 1,000? 240 for responsibility, 430 for competence, 180 for mental effort, 90 for physical effort, working conditions, 60 rupees. Likewise, altogether we pay 1,000 rupees per day for the machinist. Clerk, 800 rupees. Why we pay 800 rupees for the clerk? Responsibility, for the responsibility 96 rupees. Competence 288 rupees. Mental effort 360. Physical effort 40 rupees, and working conditions 16 rupees. Likewise, we need to identify why we pay this daily wage or salary. Then we can allocate this daily wage or daily salary among the evaluation factors. Then place key jobs on factor comparison chart. Factor comparison chart. Once the financial value have been allocated among the evaluation factors, this information is to be transferred to a chart named factor comparison chart. Now we have factors. Now we have financial values, that is based on the each and every factors. Then we can transfer this information into chart that called factor comparison chart. In the factor comparison chart, vertical axis, when we are developing chart, there are 2 axes, vertical axis and horizontal axis. For the vertical axis, we use daily wage rate, and the horizontal axis, we use valuation factors. Placing was done approximately. In some cases, numbers not corresponding exactly. This is example for the factor comparison chart. There is an Excel sheet. I think the Excel sheet is also shared with you. Can you see my Excel sheet?
Not much clear, sir.
Hello?
It's not clear, sir. We can see, but it's not clear.
Okay, now this is the maximum size I can share with you. Is it clear now or not?
So are you sharing any Excel sheet or else the same slide?
Now I am sharing Excel sheet.
We can't find any Excel sheets. We only see the slide.
Now,
Now we can see.
okay. Uh, this is the factor comparison chart. As per our example, there are 5 factors: name, responsibility, competence, mental effort, physical efforts, and working conditions. Then there are some rates based on the approach of percentage value. Then we divided daily wage among these factors. As a vertical axis, we are assigning for the rates. Then as per our table, in our previous table, based on this table information, as per the responsibility, machinist in the 240 and clerk in 96, driver in 210, security guard in 108, office assistant is 30. Now we can place these 5 jobs in a column in our factor comparison chart. As for the responsibility, the lowest value is office assistant. It is in here. Then the next value is the $96. It is clerk. Then 108 is security guard. Third one. The fourth one is 210, that is driver. And the last one, 210, is driver. Sorry, 240, that is machinist. Likewise, we can place each and every jobs on this chart that is called factor comparison chart. Based on the responsibility, there are 5 jobs. Machinist in the highest level, driver is the second level, and next is 108, that is security guard. 96, that is clerk, and 30, it is officer assistant. Then the next factor is competence. This is machinist and clerk, driver, and security guard and office assistant. Based on the second factor, that is competence. There are 5 jobs we can locate in the factor comparison chart. Based on the third factor, that is mental effort, there are 5 jobs we can locate: clerk, the machinist, driver, and security guard, and then office assistant. Based on our previous table, we can locate several key jobs in our factor comparison chart. The fourth factor is physical effort, is also located several key jobs. As a final factor, then we locate our key jobs under the working conditions. Now, we have the basic guidelines, basic guided document for the job evaluation, that is factor comparison chart. Then we can place our key jobs on a factor comparison chart. I think this chart is not clear for you. After this session, I will upload my Excel sheet as well on your LMS. This slide is also uploaded to the LMS. As a final step of the factor comparison method, step 8 is evaluate other jobs. Up to this point, we are evaluated only the key jobs, not other jobs. But for the pay management purpose, we need to evaluate each and every jobs of the organization. Other jobs are evaluated by comparing the key jobs placed on the factor comparison chart. Now, there are factors, there are rates, and when we are evaluating other jobs, we can use these key jobs where we located our key jobs as the guideline. Relatively, we can identify when we are going to evaluate other jobs, not the key jobs. It is, as example, personal secretary. When we are going to evaluate non-key jobs title personal secretary, we can identify where we are going to locate as per the responsibility. The second factor is competence. Likewise, based on these factors, where we need to locate the secretary of the organization. Then we can assign financial values. And then by accumulating or calculating total financial value, we can identify the relative worth of the job. The job of personal secretary, this is the one example for non-key jobs. Based on this example, you can identify other relative importance of other non-key jobs of the organization. Responsibility, what's the value? Competency, what's the value? Mental effort, value. And then physical effort, working conditions, likewise. Then we can calculate value of the job of personal secretary. By accumulating this total value, we can assign numeric value for the each and every jobs of the organization. In here, this numeric value, this number is represented the numeric value
of the job. That is why we call this method is quantitative, not the qualitative method. Then these are the main advantages of factor comparison method. I think you got some idea about the factor comparison method. If you proceed this example, I provide with my slides. It is originally developed by the Professor Opatha. Then you can learn something more about the factor comparison method, but there are advantages and disadvantages of this method. The basic advantage is this method is limited to the one organization, because we are basically in the job evaluation process, but under the job evaluation. Job evaluation, the basic purpose of job evaluation to identify the relative worth of the job. That is the internal value of the job. There are some information from the outside of the organization, because the market value of the job, that information, only that information is from the outside of the organization, but other all things are developed for the organization, one organization. Then we can identify the internal value, the relative importance value of the job for the organization. It should quantitatively relative worth of the job. The other thing is that number is represent the relative value of the jobs. That's why we call quantitative. That is another important thing. If we develop the ranking if we use the ranking techniques or non-quantitative or qualitative methods, we need to assign again. There are another process to assign financial values, but in here there are quantitative values. As the results, we have quantitative values for each and every jobs. Accuracy and reliability are greater than the non-analytical methods. When we compare with the qualitative methods, this method is more reliable and more accurate. This is another major advantage of this factor comparison method. There are some disadvantages as well. When the contents of the key jobs change, this method becomes less accuracy. When we are doing factor comparison method, when we are using factor comparison method, we need to identify key jobs. After identifying key jobs, based on these key jobs and the key factors, if we are missing any key jobs, that job is not representing all the range of jobs, then it is very difficult to identify, difficult to evaluate other non-key jobs, other jobs. And if we are missing very important factor for job evaluation, it is major mistake. It may become a major reason for less accuracy. This method may formalize any existing pay rates for key jobs are correct. On the other side, we are using some external values for the jobs, that is existing pay rates, that is from the labor market. If we are not aware with what's the real external value or real pay rates of the key jobs, if we are missing these correct pay rates for the key jobs, our total effort will lose, meaningless. Then the last disadvantage of this method is relatively this method is more complex. There are 80 steps. Understanding is also very difficult, but that is we can see in the quantitative techniques. But the final results is more accurate and the more reliable. But this accuracy and reliability is based on the process. If we are missing any part of the process, as example, if we cannot identify correct existing pay rates for the key jobs, our effort will be a loss. On the other thing, if we are not identifying key jobs correctly, our factor comparison chart is become a wrong thing, then that effort will be lost. On the other thing, when we are identifying the key factors, we are going to evaluate based on these factors criteria. If we are lost one of the factor, our total effort will be lost. That is major disadvantage of this factor comparison method. That is all about the factor comparison method. You can use this question as the review question. How can use the factor comparison method for job evaluation? Explain with the suitable example. If we are using, if you answer these questions, you can develop the sample example for the factor comparison method. Then these are the references for my teaching material. That is all about the factor comparison method. Thank you very much.